Hey friends, thank you so much for joining us today on Untrained Philosophical Discussionists. We're in our interview space, and we have a very special guest. I'm going to read her bio. Her bio. Yes, women can also talk about God. We allow that here.
What? She has her head covered, so it's okay.
Oh her head is covered.
It's fine.
Clearly so.
It's fine.
As it should be.
Oh, Lord.
Just kidding, everybody. Get over yourselves.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Born to a 16-year-old mother battling alcohol addiction, Ashley's early life was marked by instability, moving between her birth mother and foster care until she was adopted at 9 months old by a loving white family. Her story is one of overcoming adversity, embracing grace, and living out a calling that began with a single song. Friends, welcome our friend, Ashley Weaver. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're so excited to have you on here.
Thank you.
It's legitimately we talked about this a long time ago, and we talked about doing a series on worship, and we both agreed there's one person we want to interview, and it's you.
We were nervous. We'd nervous you'd say no.
Oh my God.
We're honest.
No.
We're like, no,
I was
guys.
shocked that you asked me. I was shocked. So,
We're so happy to have
honored.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What we like to do here is we like to kind of go through the history of your life.
Yeah.
Unpacking some events. We'll pause in those and maybe dwell in those spaces for a bit, and then we'll hop back into the timeline, work our way through as we kind of introduce you to the audience. And then again, today this is part of a larger series, the series of worship, and how we feel that it's imperative for worship to be high in the mind of a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
In fact, both of us would probably agree to this, like especially during the weekends. Our connection to the message begins with the worship.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sets the stage. I would say most of the sermon of most of the reason why I'm there on the weekends is because my connection is through the music, and you have brought our church to another level with your excellence of that, and it's really made an impact, I know, in the way that people not only engage with worship, but the way they even think about worship as part of the service. It's no longer just this, let's get these 4 songs done and move on. It's like, how do I come to the throne of Jesus? And you just do such a great job of laying that groundwork for people. So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you're born to a very young mother.
Yes.
And were you born here in Florida?
I was born in Gainesville.
Ooh, okay. Gainesville. And what was going on in mom's life? 16 is young for anybody, but 16 and to have an alcohol addiction would dictate that there were some other things probably happening in her life.
Yeah, totally. So I think she was actually 15. And mind you, I've never met my mom. So I've had one encounter when I was 7. But so the things that I know are things that were like told to me as a child or as an adult. But no, so she grew up in a really unstable family, unstable environment. It was alcohol addiction and also drug addiction. It was a lot. So my family that actually adopted me was friends with my biological mom's family. So like that whole side of the family, they all lived in the same town. They all went to school together. And so that's kind of like the little connection that we had there. So
your mother's parents, your grandparents knew the adoptive parents.
Yeah.
And do they still communicate now?
I mean, like if they see each other in town, they'll, hey, like the grandfather, my grandfather's passed away, but my grandma's still alive. But I mean, my parents have seen them like in town and stuff, even with my kids. And they'll just say like, hi. It's weird.
Did they ever engage with you at all? Her parents? Your biological mom's parents?
Yeah, like as a child, kind of. And also like, mind you, like these are things that like, this is how my parents have told me.
It's all secondhand.
Right, yeah. So it's like, sometimes I feel like my childhood memories are like memories that I was told, so that's why I remember them.
Of course.
Like, okay. But yeah, so they do. So if they see each other in town, hi, bye, this and that. But nothing like, no like real friendship. My adopted mom always said that there was really no like wanting for a relationship and whatnot. And then as I grew older, like when I know it's fast forwarding, but when I had my first child, my biological grandmother, she did like make effort to kind of want to be in my life. At that point in time, my biological mom, she wanted to meet me. But I was very like, I still am, but like I was very impressionable back then. And like my parents were like, don't you dare. Like, and I had gotten some counsel from some people and they were like, absolutely not. Like, don't meet her. Like, that's not. Now, if I could go back, I would do it. I think I'm a little bit more, you know, my head's on a little bit stronger now.
She's still alive?
She is, yeah. I think in and out of jail. I mean, I looked up her most recent mugshot, I think was 2022. But sometimes I'll go and look up her stuff. And as a kid, I did that a lot because I think I wanted to like.
Is it something that you think about now? Does it have an impact on your life of wanting to know her and knowing more of her story, maybe find out what really is her story? Or do you feel like your heart is like, I just want to be distant from her?
I don't know. I feel like it's both. So like one of my youngest sibling, this will make sense in a sec, but like my youngest sibling is, I think he's like 8 years old, maybe 8 or 9. So around Zion's age. And so when he was born and like when she was pregnant with him, I was like actually in contact with her like on Facebook because she had friended me and we were friends on Facebook and whatnot. So we're going back and forth. And then even just like during that time, she got super nasty with me and like just really rude. I, you know, offered to like help her, offered to like take the baby. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'll try. Take the baby, like care for the baby for her because she was still just not in like stable positions. And she got super, super like rude and nasty. And so I don't know. I don't think I have like a desire to meet her or to like really like even like have a relationship. Maybe I'll get there one day. And if I do, awesome. If not, great. But then like, but there's that side. But then I also think about the side of like my biological father, like he existed, lived an hour away from me. Well, from my hometown, like 30 minutes. And then from here, like an hour. And like never met him. But I do wish there could have been a relationship there.
Why do you think the contrast?
I don't know. I do not know.
Do you think it's maybe because she was nasty? She's been nasty at times, and you've actually had some of these encounters with her as to where.
Maybe not with him.
Was there anything there with your biological father?
There wasn't anything.
Complete
at
absence
all.
then.
Yeah.
So there's the curiosity
it could be.
there.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And I feel like even with her though, there's probably curiosity because I'm like, I don't know her. I know what my parents have told me about
I was
her.
wondering, did they ever tell stories about your biological dad in the way that they told you stories about your biological mom?
No, because they did not have any like contact with that side of the family.
How old was he when they got pregnant?
I don't know exactly, but he was an old man. So my parents are 70. My dad will be 70. My mom's 70. Adopted parents. I think he was around that age.
Oh, wow.
Like when he passed away.
Sure.
So I'm thinking he was like 20-ish or so, 15 to 20 years older than her.
Yeah.
So also you think back to that and you're like, oh, she was literally 15.
Yeah.
That's a issue with the state.
Yeah. So
that makes more sense now as you.
Yeah, I know. Well,
share those
literally,
details.
I don't even know why that never even crossed my mind till most recently. And I was like, oh, like, no, she was a child.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. And so, and I was always told like, it was like a drug deal. Like I was the product of him giving her the drugs and she got pregnant and here I am.
So back into this timeline here, you know, so you're born to her. Is she living with her parents, do you know?
Yes, I think that she was living with my grandmother.
Yes.
And then my grandfather, as far as I know. I think that was the case. And so so my grandma has I think there's, obviously I'm in a blank in this situation. No, I think there's like 3 sisters that she has. And so they all lived close together, all in like a row of like little trailers down this one little road. And so there was always like there's always family and stuff around. I think she bounced around from house to house and whatnot, but I think they were in her life at that point in time. The
reason I ask is, you know, if she has other potential responsible people around, are they caretaking for you if she's wilding out? Yes. And then how does that then convert over into an adoptive family then seeing you, and do you know any of that story?
Yeah. So what I was told is that like I was bounced around from like the aunts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bounced around house to house. I think she took care of me somewhat, maybe as much as she could. And then I'm trying to think here. Bounced around from house to house, but mainly I think I was in foster care a lot. I'm trying to like remember, like recount all
Do you
these
remember
things.
how old you were when you went to foster care?
I was an infant, like,
Okay.
yeah, but I think it was like I was in and out.
Okay.
So when I was born addicted to all the things that she had.
Oh.
So I do remember my adopted mom, telling me that I was born like addicted to cocaine and all the other things that my mom had. So I had to be weaned off of that. And so I do remember like my adopted mom told me that like they came to visit me in the hospital and like they saw me like struggling. I had a lot of breathing problems, had a lot of issues. And then even like in the foster families that I went to, I remember my mom telling me there's one foster family I went to, they had like a bunch of animals and dogs and they smoked and like I couldn't be in that environment. All my aunts, except for one, like all of them smoked too, like in my biological family. And so that was also hard in that situation and then like my voice, and it's just always been gruff, but as you can tell.
That does tie it together then, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, you come into the hospital, they're seeing a mother and a baby experiencing withdrawal. And they're going, this is not right. We need to make sure that we're getting DHS in here to start looking into things, then probably following up on things. And then they realize this is probably not a conducive environment for a child. Let's get this child out of here. So that ties it all together. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So at what point in time do you meet who becomes your parents? Because that's pretty early still.
Yeah. So these are all also things that just what I've been told as a child. But 9 months old, my parents adopted me. They were young. And so 33, I think, is how old my mom was. My dad, too. They're the same age. I have 3 siblings on that side of the family.
Older or younger?
They're all older than me.
Biological for them?
Yes. So they're biological for my parents. So there's, I have 2 brothers and a sister. And so they're like 10, 12, and 14 years older than me.
Okay.
So they're all old. I'm just kidding. Me too. But no, so yeah, 10, 12, 14 years older than me. And so now I lost my train of thought. Remind me what you said.
So they're older. Your parents adopted you at a certain time.
Yes.
You're 9 months old, I think it says in the bio.
Yes.
And had they had you prior to that at all, or how did they find out? You said that they're friends with your grandparents. So do they have any other adopted children?
Yeah, I do. I have another sister who's also adopted too.
Younger?
Yeah. She's older than me. So she's also 12 years older than me.
Okay.
Her adoption's not like official, but my parents took her in when she was 16.
Okay.
But she's our family. Like her kids are my nieces and nephews. Like, yeah.
How's your relationship with your brothers and sisters?
It's okay. Like my brothers are, and my brothers are Christians. My one brother, for the longest time, wasn't a Christian, got saved years ago, which is great. Turned his whole family around. He has teenage and adult children, and so it's like that changed their whole family. His wife is great. She's so sweet. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. My sister, she lives in Tampa. She is great. She's my favorite because we didn't used to always have the best relationship growing up, but now we have a really good relationship, which is a shift in our family dynamic. So
I come from a blended family as well. I have one full brother, one full sister.
Okay.
And then I have 2 half brothers.
Okay.
And I have a stepbrother and a stepsister.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah, it's
7.
a lot. Yeah.
For just clarity's sake, as we move through, if you can remember too, it's like it's useful and helpful because it's curious. Why people adopt is awesome to me. I love hearing that, and then also the story of your adoption and what it was like to fit in a family like that is imperative. I know that there were times in my life where I had questions about my biological father. Who is this guy? What was his deal? What's going on? And then, not unlike yourself, very poor experiences when I did find out.
Yeah.
And when he would try to reach out. It was frankly awful.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with that. But as we're going through this, it's useful, I think, when you say, like, my brother, if we're, and maybe it won't be, but if it's the adoptive sister, because I think what'll be interesting is, like, who do you get along with? How do you reflect on those relationships, you know, in posterity? Growing up, it might have been tricky. You know, you're the kid that comes in and then somebody's giving you attention and you're a baby and they're older.
Oh my gosh, that was totally a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I was the oldest.
Okay.
So, you know, as the younger brothers were born, I'm like, who gives a, look at all the awesome stuff I'm doing. I can talk to you and I got great ideas and this little baby just crapped in its pants. Why do you like that thing so much? Are you nuts?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
You know?
That happened, yeah.
With a little bit of jealousy, maybe?
Yes.
Not for me, of course, but like for my, so as we go about it, just if you can try to bear that in mind, because I think for the viewer and for us too, as the guys talking to you here, it's interesting, especially as you break up these family dynamics. So into that timeline, they adopt you, 9 months old, you're the baby.
Yeah.
Everybody else is older, but they do have one adopted child at this time who's 12, or does she come along later?
She didn't come along till she was 16.
Okay.
So 4 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was around 4. Yeah, and me and my niece, we're 4 years apart. So
what are some of your earliest memories with the family?
I don't feel like okay. So we have a lot of home videos that my parents did of me specifically and my siblings. I feel like a lot of my memories like come from me watching those home videos.
Sure.
And even like now when I go home, like I always love to watch them and see them. I think also that has to do with adoption. We can talk about that later, but I think that has to do with that. But I'm trying to think. I know we would always go on vacations. Orlando was like a place where we would always go because I grew up in a really small like country town.
Okay.
Yes, very, very small.
What's the town's name?
Okay, technically it's called Pomona Park is where I grew up.
Shout out Pomona Park.
Hey, Crescent City, yeah.
Yo.
But then,
Should we say Hova to those people?
I always say Palatka is like my town because that's like
the largest community around. I'm familiar with this. I grew up in a place called
Palatka, so I've been in Palatka, yeah.
I grew up in a place called Le Sueur.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Aw.
Don't drink the water, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
When people would say, "Where are you from?" I would say
The Sewer.
Mankato, Minnesota.
Okay, yeah.
Because people go, "Oh, okay, yeah," or Rochester, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
So
see, that's why I never say Pomona Park.
I'm with you.
It's like, oh, I don't know what that is. Palatka, which is the central town, which is where like JD lived in another town, Interlaken. Pomona Park was here.
Interlaken, huh?
And then Palatka was the middle.
Nice.
So 5 years old, you discover you're adopted.
Yes, I did.
Like I'm thinking of like my memories of 5 years old, which not unlike yourself are pictures that my mom has. I look at and go, huh.
Yeah.
And then try to imagine any thoughts that I had.
Yeah.
At that little bugger there.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, such a complex thought process as I'm not. Do I fit in here then, or do I not fit in here?
Right. Yeah.
Can you unpack kind of how that went about, that you found that out, and and what was that?
Yeah, totally. So once again, this is like stories that have been told to me because I don't know. I feel like I remember around 5 or 6 years old, but only like this certain birthday party I had, which was Barney. I feel like I remember that, and that wasn't like a video I watched or a story my mom told me.
Yeah.
This though, finding out I was adopted, was a story that my mom told me. And so the way that she told me was that they sat me down at 5 and they told me that I was adopted and that they were my adoptive parents, but that I had like a biological mom and a biological dad. They specified that like my mom was white and that my dad was black. And my mom says that whenever they told me that my dad was black, that I like freaked out. And I was like, she's like, you went running through the house and you were like, they told me that I was afraid of black people. And I was like,
are you afraid of black people?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not afraid of black people.
Clear that up for the audience.
For the record, okay? I would hope not.
For just the listeners alone, she is a woman of color.
Yes. Oh, yes. Just so you know, I am brown. No, but
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But no, so that's what she told me. So that's like what I've always, that's the story that's been
sure
like in there, is that, oh, I was just afraid of black people at age 5.
What was that like when you found that out? Because, part of your bio was, we clarified that you were adopted by a white family. So I'm assuming all your siblings are white as well.
Yeah. So my 3 that are their bio kids are white, like them. But then my sister, who they adopted at 16, she's actually Honduran. So there's a little
brown skin there too.
Yeah, definitely.
I adopt my oldest 2 kids are adopted. They're both biracial as well. And so I know.
Yeah.
So they grew up in a house with 2 white parents. And, but, I think there's a reality to that is, white, black doesn't matter. We can still teach our kids how to love Jesus and be people. But what was your experience like that? And once you found that out that, okay, well, I don't look like them.
Yeah.
How did that affect, or did that play out at all inside the house?
I think as a younger child, and even probably until I was, I don't even know, in my 20s maybe, not that it didn't affect me or that I didn't like notice it or see it, but I don't know, and this may sound so stupid, I feel like I thought that I had some kind of like covering because my family was white. I don't know. That probably sounds silly.
No. Unpack that. Like, what do you mean by that?
Like, it was like, I don't think I realized that I knew I was different, but I think that I was just around white people all the time. So I was just like, oh, well, I'm white. Like, that's,
I fit right in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't, which is fine, now I'm like, okay, you did it, and that's okay. But I don't think that I really was like, wait a second. No, I am different, and that's okay, in my 20s, which I think is, now that I say it out loud, may sound kind of silly.
It doesn't at all.
Yeah.
I think that it'd be easy for us to sit here and try to explain those to you, but we're never going to know the feelings of that or the experience of that. I know very often as I look at culture today, so you have somebody who's white and who's white and black, like you are, and so it's like it almost feels like you have to make this decision of like, well, okay, well, which way am I going to go?
Right.
Like, am I going to blend towards the white culture? Am I going to blend towards what am I going to do?
Well,
here?
and I also wasn't given an opportunity to even go towards black culture at all.
Interesting.
My parents did not really...
Can you define black culture versus white culture?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. I don't know if I should answer that.
Why?
I mean,
all right. If you can't,
okay.
Why do you think you couldn't or shouldn't?
I don't know,
because it's very complex.
No, I know. I don't want to mess it up.
Sure.
I mean, it's just so different. Like, white people and black people are just different in the way that they are, just in general.
Okay.
Which is okay, and I love it, and
great.
I wish that. So, okay, I'm gonna fast forward. This is gonna sound silly, but I'm gonna fast forward real quick. I did not realize that, long story short, I got to meet some of my biological, the black side of my family when my father passed away.
Yeah.
And hanging out with them and being around them, I was like, oh my gosh, I am half black. This is me.
I'm enjoying myself here. I feel like I fit in.
Oh my gosh, yes. And not that I didn't fit in with my family or
sure.
but little things like growing up as a kid, my mom would always be my mom is very if she sees this, I'm sorry, very plain, everything is just jewelry, tiny jewelry, doesn't wear bright colors, doesn't this and that. She would always be why is your jewelry so gaudy? Why are you this or that? And then when I met the black side of my family, I was like, this is why I am the way I am. Because that's a part of me. Yeah. And I was never really encouraged to embrace that and encouraged to just be yourself or just this or that. And then now I try to do that with my kids though. I let my children do what they need to do. But but whenever I met the black side of my family, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is me. This is why I like these, they're not done, but these bright colors and the big jewelry and why I like this and that. And so I feel for me, even though it was a hard time, I feel that was oh, okay, Did
you feel it was freeing almost?
Oh my gosh, yeah, because I'm because I feel I would always make myself less than. I would need to like push myself down a little bit to like
myself. What is myself?
Like myself as in like who
personality?
I am. Yes. Well, yes. And like how I dress or like how I put myself out there needed to be like pushed down a little
reserved.
bit. Like, yes. Like as kid, teen years, all the way through. Don't be too loud because why are you so loud? Why are you so, yeah.
The town that you grew up in, culturally white, culturally black, mixed, how did that look in the area that you grew up, school you went to?
Yeah, so no, it was pretty mixed with all different people, for sure. I was homeschooled. I went to school in 4th grade, but my mom was like, she sent me to school. I do remember that. She sent me to school. I liked it, enjoyed it, but she felt like God was telling her, like, hey, like, take her back
So they're
out.
a Christian family.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, for sure. I grew up the whole time a Christian family, yeah. So.
Okay. Like a Sunday Christian family or an everyday Christian family?
Oh, no, they're everyday Christian family, for sure, yeah. Back then, I remember my dad wasn't as involved in church. My mom we would always go to church. I remember her, like, trying to take us to this one church by our house, and I hated it so much. Like, she would take me there. It was a Baptist church, and she was just trying to, like, find something close by because any other churches were, like, 30, 45 minutes away. And so she would always take me, but I always cry. And I do remember that. And I was, like, 5 or 6 years old, 6, 7 maybe. But I always hated it. But that was during the time when my dad started, like, going back to church. And then we found a church in Palatka, which just ended up being my home church. That's where I grew up.
What kind of church was that you grew up in?
Assemblies of God.
Okay.
So very charismatic.
Went from Baptist to AG, huh?
I know. I think my mom deep down was just AG all, Pentecostal all the way. But she was just trying to find something close, Yeah. But I hated it so much. And then when I went to the church in Palatka, I loved it. And she was like, okay. She did value that. She was like, okay, my daughter loves this. Like, we're gonna be here.
And are the other kids still in the house at this time too when they found this Palatka church?
Yeah, I know my sister was. I don't think my brothers were.
Were they joining?
My sister, yeah, she was very, very involved in church.
Is she still?
No, she's not.
Okay.
And she was like super involved in youth group. I do remember like little things like that. Like the youth group was wild. Back then, years ago, stuff was so weird and not in a bad, I get, well, kind of in a weird way, but, yeah.
Weird how? Oh, talk me through that.
Weird, I don't know. I think that we have just kind of gone out of the like charismatic, very...
Were they ultra charismatic people? Like,
speaking in
let
tongues,
your freak flag fly?
Oh my gosh, yes. Run around the room, passing out on the floor. And I'm not saying that none of, like, that can be genuine and real.
It can happen. It doesn't have to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that, like, we used to, like, chase stuff like that. And, like, it was always like, okay, like, if I can, okay, God will just, okay, if I can just do this and that, like, maybe if I fall out, like, my life's going to change. And, like, that's just, it's just not how it works.
I'm so familiar with that feeling.
It's just not how it works. And I'm just like, okay, now that I am at Grace, and now that, like, I've grown a little bit, I can kind of see, hey, like, it was just a lot. Not saying it's not bad. It is what it is.
Are you authentically representing yourself to God? If the answer is yes, then whatever feels like you are worshiping God and that you are connecting with God, I'm for you doing that.
Yes, yeah.
But if we're doing it as some sort of performance or for achievement credits,
or to show that you have the Holy Spirit,
right,
it is probably less than useless. So I'm glad for you to point that out. I want to jump back in this timeline quick.
Yeah, sorry.
No, please, this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
What prompted your parents to adopt? Have they told you about that?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that, okay, so, and even like rewinding back to my biological mom and her relationship with my family. So my mom told me a story, like whenever I was born, that she told my bio mom, like, hey, like, I know your life is crazy. I know the situation is crazy. You can come live with us. We will help you. We will take care of you. We will help you with the baby. All these things. And so, like, my parents, they're very genuine and they do want to help. It's incredible. They do care. And they were, like, offering to her, I think, the pull of the world and the pull of drugs and alcohol addiction. Yeah, exactly. That was just more important at that time. And so, yeah.
looking at that now, as you kind of fast forward growing up in the house and kind of where you are at today, and I don't want to fast forward, but impact wise, like with your relationships with your parents today, do you see, is there a part of you that feels like you were taken from your biological family, or do you feel like, or do you feel like gracious that you were removed from that environment?
No, I don't think I definitely gracious. I think that I think about it all the time and a lot, but like how my life would not be, this would be the time when I might start crying, guys. My life would not be what it is now. I wouldn't have the things that I have now. I wouldn't have the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't have my family, my husband, my kids, the church that we work at. Like all of that had to happen to like get me to where I am now. Not saying that I've arrived, not saying anything like that, but like definitely gracious. Even though my life has been a little wacko, I am always so thankful that my parents really are selfless and that selflessly adopted me and took me in. So
I love that. You know, adoption's it's a challenging thing.
Yes.
You know, and then it's like, because like the rule book for adoption, there's not like one rule that you can apply widely that works for everybody, and so every scenario is going to be a little bit different in how they do that. Let alone when you try to mix culture.
Yeah, for sure.
As well too.
For sure.
So there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to kind of bring you into this timeline on too, because when we did your bio, like you were very clear to say I was raised by white parents.
Yeah.
How does that affect you today?
It's been a little rough, you know.
Did they ever treat you like you? Is there white and black, especially in America, especially in the last maybe decade or so? It has become a prominent forefront thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where, like Andy was saying earlier, there's become this dichotomy. Where do I go? Do I go with the white half of me? Do I go with the black half of me? Especially for people that are mixed race. And it felt like in my youth, I didn't see as much of that. I grew up in a predominantly white town, some Hispanics, some blacks.
Same, yeah.
But I grew up listening to hip hop music and loving that and like respecting these, you know, the Tupacs and the Biggies and really loved Wu-Tang Clan. I would listen to that stuff all the time and like dream of those places and what those guys were talking about in their storytelling. I say this, something happened in society that shifted that has made it kind of come back into, we need to, there is like a separator of some sort. I don't know if it's being pushed on us or not. My question more is like, for you to bring it up, it means that there is something in your brain that does wrestle with it, that does struggle with it. Are there times in your youth where you felt like maybe your parents treated you different? And let me say this. I have a stepfather, and praise God for him. Yeah. Not unlike yourself. My father could not stop drinking. And he drank his whole life and died from it. And my stepfather took in two ratty kids and always treated us like we were just part of the family. And he always has. He's always loved. I never recognized any difference between the way he loved me and loved anyone else. Yeah. But you still have questions like that are curiosities, and I got to have a few of mine answered before my father died, but like there's still just a ton of like, what the heck? But I'm super grateful at the same time for this man to step in and take up this role that's such an important and like, you know, massive role in a young man or a young woman's life. I'm assuming too. Did you ever feel like, well, did you feel like you were one of their kids? Did you feel differently than any of the other kids? Was there a white-black thing ever that came up? Was there anything that specifically was said or insinuated?
So I think that my parents did a great job as a child. Like, as an adult, I have to remember that, like, my parents were also young. Now, when I think back about my childhood, I'm like, they were also young and they were learning and there was this and that. They didn't ever really treat me different. Honestly, I was the favorite child for the longest time. And that was, you know, how we were talking about, like, the age difference and, like, getting jealous of, like, siblings.
Sure.
Like, my sister, and it's fine if she hears this, like, we've talked through it. Like, she was jealous, very jealous of me as a child. She did not feel like my parents loved her as much as they loved me, and I got all the attention. And when I was younger, it used to be like a joke. We would joke about it. And now, after me and my sister have talked about it, I'm like, oh, this was real. Like, this was a real thing, and now we don't joke about it.
Yeah.
Because I love my sister. But no, my parents, to my knowledge and, like, remembrance, they really never treated me different. They didn't, like, I think I was very insecure with being the brown one in the family, the only brown one in the family. And I would always jump the gun. Like, if we would meet people, I catch myself, because I even have recently done this when they've come to visit the church, but we would meet people and I would be like, yes, I would make sure.
I'm the adopted daughter?
Yes, I had to let them know first that I was adopted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now I know that's, like, it's an insecurity in me, you know, because I didn't want people to be like, wait, you're brown. And like back, I feel like interracial relationships and then, like, just mixed children in general, like a brown child with a white mom or like, that's kind of, I feel like it's more like normal now.
Sure.
I think back then it wasn't as normal. And so I always would, like, jump the gun and be like, oh, no, and I'm adopted, to make sure that everybody knew.
That's interesting.
To lay it out for them so that they weren't wondering, why are you brown and why are both of your parents?
Yeah. You know, anytime I would be with my wife and I would be with, like, my daughter or my son, and they're looking at my kids and they're looking at us, I'd always go, but you don't think they look like me? Right. You know, that was my way of always just diffusing it with people too. It's like,
and my dad would say stuff like that too.
Yeah, they look just like me. What, you don't see it?
Yes.
And then they have to just stare and be like, no, just make them
Yeah,
I gotta go.
Sure.
Somebody called my name over this way. I gotta go.
And I get it, because, like, now even when with my kids, they look like me in the face, but they're much lighter skinned than I am. And so I get it, and it is what it is. But yeah, I was just very insecure with it. But they never. But
that insecurity was more a you thing. It wasn't something that you felt in the home you were in.
Yeah, I think so. And then as I got older, I feel like it's not like, even, let's see, 4 or 5 years ago, me and my parents had a really big, like, falling out. It was horrible. I think that is when they made me, like, that's when not that I didn't realize I was different than them, because I did, but I think that was probably one of the first times when I ever felt like my parents were like, yeah, you're different, and this is what we believe, and this is, like, how we feel about this.
Do you want to give an example?
Yeah, can you unpack that a little bit?
Let's see.
And if you don't want to, because we want to protect and respect your family's privacy and all this too. But if it's something you want to talk about,
how I can, like, word it.
Let's come back to it.
Yeah, let's come back to it. Yeah.
You said earlier that there's videos of you. There's a lot of videos of you that your parents have. Are you performing in these videos?
Actually, no. So no. Yes, in some of them, but the main ones though are like baby videos.
Okay.
Like up until like maybe like age 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And there was no like cell phone recordings, so they don't do that back
VHS
then.
baby.
No, so the ones are VHS, and then my mom had the little smaller camera.
Yeah, little camcorder.
But I don't know if she has me singing on there. She probably does somewhere. But those, like, they don't have the little. You can't play those just in like a regular VCR. You got to do some crazy
sort of
stuff
adaptation.
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
How old were you when you knew you just had this gift?
I think it was 8. Like I remember my mom being like, she said like all the adults were like, why does she sing like a grown woman?
Really?
Yes. At 8.
And was that your first time that you can remember singing, or were you prior to that singing? Would you sing by yourself, sing in your room? Were you?
It's so bad. This is unpacking a lot for me now. I was like, I don't even remember. I don't know. I don't think I did, honestly. I know I was involved in like choir.
Okay, so there's a bunch of people singing at the same time in choir.
Yes.
But at some point in time, you became the isolated vocalists.
Yeah.
vocalist. Can you describe that day or that
Yeah.
event or how that came about?
Yeah, so one of the little girls, it's so weird, it's a little, one of the girls, she couldn't be there because she was sick. And so it was this like, we would always do these like choir specials and like you do the little kids choir and this and that. And we even had like little groups of like little ensembles where we would all dress the same.
Is this at the Assembly of God's Church?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she got sick. And so the children's pastor's wife asked me to sing the song. And I did. And like from there, that was it. And then I just kept singing. And I loved it so much. Would be in the ensembles. We would do competitions, something called Fine Arts, which they still have today, which I get to like judge at it, which is so crazy because I'm like, wow, I'm old.
It happens.
Yeah, I know.
It happens.
The funny thing is if you are watching this and you see her on camera, she's way older than you might anticipate.
Yes.
There's a saying, it ends with "Don't crack."
Don't crack.
Black don't crack.
There's the one.
It's true.
It's unbelievable.
If I got anything,
We're not
going to
give any ages out, but
good genes. Good.
You look like you're in your 20s.
Thank you, but I'm
That's
not.
bizarre.
Yeah.
So you get this performance. We were talking before the cameras went on that you also play piano.
I do. Yeah.
Did you take lessons?
I did. My children's pastor's wife, the same lady, she gave me piano lessons.
When did this start?
I think I started doing piano probably when I was like 10, 11 years old.
Sure.
And then I'm not like amazing. I didn't like keep up with it. I took lessons. I know the basics. I know how to like play songs. I could play
Sure.
in a worship setting.
Yeah.
But I'm not like.
So this children's pastor's wife. So she's kind of the lady that sees you, hears you sing, and is like, okay, this girl has something. We need to pour into that.
Yeah, for sure.
How did she do that?
Oh gosh, like through lessons and stuff like my piano lessons and stuff like that. We would have like rehearsals. We would go to, like some of the girls that were in the group, like the little ensemble group. I remember we'd go to her house and do things. I spent a lot of time with them. I would also babysit their kids. I also think back to that and I'm like, man, I was like 10 and 11 babysitting 3 children.
Oh yeah. That's a different time.
That's a different time, man.
Yeah.
I know, it's true. It really was.
I babysat 5 kids.
Oh my gosh.
Constantly.
Yeah.
In single and in early double-digit ages.
Yeah, I
was always
babysat
very
3 kids when I was 12.
For sure.
They let me babysit.
Right.
I wasn't. I
Like,
wasn't very responsible.
responsible.
No.
Jeez Louise.
Oh
I
gosh.
was very busy with all my little 10, 11, 12-year-old thoughts and
Yeah.
ideas and plans. Like, I shouldn't have been accountable to 5 other humans. That's
Not a
bananas.
chance, man.
Oh
Not a
my
chance.
My
gosh.
parents made a bad decision. They did it constantly.
Somebody else made a bad decision hiring me to watch their 3 children while they would go out, man.
Jeez
I'm
Louise.
telling you, man. But it was a different time.
It was.
It was a different time, man.
Yes, for sure.
So it's funny, as you start talking about, doing music, you radiate with joy. Because clearly it brings you a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm wondering, so you're singing hymnals for this church? Or are you singing?
No, it's very modern stuff.
It's modern music.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
And
modern for that time. Yeah.
and you're taking lessons and you're getting better.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you take lessons. What kind of recognition are you getting from your peers?
I don't really remember. I had, the girls that like I sang with and stuff like that. Like,
You're homeschooled still at this time?
I was homeschooled. Yeah. So the only friends that I really had were like church friends. Mm-hmm. Like that was it. That's all I had. And there was like
Homeschooled all the way through 12th grade?
yeah, there was like, what were you gonna say?
Because you went 4th grade, you said you went to school.
Yeah. And
So
then she took me back out.
She saw that.
But I don't think I even finished 4th grade. I think that she took me out in the middle of it, if I remember correctly. But yeah. And then she took me out and then she homeschooled me, which was good. It was very freeing for me. I got to do so much stuff. We got to go so many places and do things. And my parents really loved doing that. Because by that time, I was literally like an only child. Because my siblings were all 10, 12, 14. Yeah, they were all gone. And so, so it was just me. Yeah.
Do mom and dad come and watch you perform?
Yeah, they'll come sometimes. Oh, you mean like now?
When you're young?
Oh, when I was young? Oh, yeah, my parents were super supportive of it.
Yeah.
I think my parents, it's funny, I feel like even in my life, they've always been supportive of me. I think they've always had a hard time telling me that they were proud of me, or telling me. They showed it in different ways.
Okay.
I know that I feel like they're the parents that, like, they tell their friends and they're so excited to, like, yeah, this is my daughter. And I know they talk about me in that way.
Yeah.
But I think telling me, like, yeah, we're so proud of you, or this, you did so great, or whatever, like, that never really, I think all the way through, has never really came about. So,
yeah. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Were your parents affectionate? I love yous, hugs, that type of thing inside the house, or was it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah.
I think when, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think when a parent or parents biologically don't show up, don't tell you who you are, aren't there to give the example of who they are and who you should be, even if great people stand in for them and take up that responsibility, which is beautiful and wonderful and amazing, and so much better than either staying with these people that are so deeply broken that it breaks you.
Yeah.
But there is a longing inside of you then to be validated. I find myself struggling with that constantly, where I really want the people who are closest to say, good job.
Yeah, for sure.
And to recognize my efforts. And I think it's just because you feel a bit, even if you've got great people around, you feel like a ship in the middle of the ocean by yourself. You know, am I doing this right? The instincts don't fully kick in because the people that were supposed to teach you the instincts, the direct biological ones, weren't there.
Yeah.
So other people are trying to pick up the pieces of that and doing the best they can with that. So as I hear you kind of say that, man, I can relate to that so much.
Yeah.
You really want them to say, hey, you carry great value for me. And these things that you do, I'm blown away by you and who you're becoming and who you become, and you're great. And you want them to say all these things because and like all the time.
Yeah.
Not just once.
You just said it. It's validating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. But it's like, you know, that's the thing about a relationship with Christ, is that when you submit yourself to him, he fills in a lot of those things for you.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're young, even if you do have a relationship with Jesus, I do think you're still looking for your earthly people to, you know, fill up that emptiness with validation and gratitude and appreciation as well.
Yeah.
So I think that as I hear you say that, you're clearly tracking with that too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even like being adopted, like there's so much insecurity with that.
Sure.
There's so much like you need that extra validation, I feel like, because it's like you feel very, very alone.
And it's not to discredit, again, the great people that have come along the path. But, you know, God made a man and a woman to come together, to have children, to dedicate themselves and their life to God, and then to doing God's will for those kids. And then generationally that happens. But when you come from generational brokenness, like you get to be a change agent. Which is phenomenal. You're married to your husband. You guys have kids. You guys pour in all the things the kids need. But when your parents lack that, like that leaves a bit of insecurity in your heart.
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure.
Do you find yourself today, I want to look at two things within that. So do you find yourself today still wrestling with rejection? And then do you find yourself overcompensating with your kids?
100% all of the way around. Yes.
Yeah.
Rejection, yes. But also, I will reject you before you can reject me. That is I'm working on it, guys. But that has always been me.
If I sniff a rejection on the horizon,
I'm like, okay, well,
I'm going to sabotage the whole way 100%.
Up. Yeah.
Can you give an example of how that looks for you?
I feel like friendships. I used to do that in relationships. Like boyfriend relation.
Sure.
Not so much with JD, but like.
Yeah, because he's awesome.
Yeah, he's so great, guys. He can hear this, so. No, he really is great. No, but like previous relationships, like if I felt any type of like insecurity in that relationship, then I'm gonna be mean.
Yep.
And I'm going to push you aside. But I feel like, and my mom, she had always told me, she's like, that stems from adoption. And I'm like,
fear of rejection.
Like, okay, oh my gosh, yeah.
It's
I'm like,
the ultimate rejection
true.
is to be a child whose parents aren't there for you.
Right. And even though like my adoptive parents adopted me and I had that love, adoption, there's just so much to it. It's so much deeper, like when the baby is born and like the connection, even though my mom sucked, that connection that was there was broken. And like, it's just, there's a lot to it. So
certainly.
Yes.
And then how do you overcompensate with your children?
I feel like, I don't know if you would say overcompensate, but like, I'm trying to change it.
Yeah.
Like telling them, even like, so JD he's good parents, but like his relationship with his dad, sorry, JD, I'm talking about you, has not always been the best. Still isn't the best. JD's flipping that, and JD's changing that with our kids. Like, never hearing I love you from your father, or never having that, like, I'm proud of you, and like, you're doing so great. Like, he didn't get that.
Yeah.
He's giving that to our kids. Like, maybe he does overcome. No, but he gives that to our kids. And like, I try to do the same thing. Even like when I talked about earlier, how my mom would talk about like, the way I dressed, or the way that I liked loud things, or this or that. I mean, you know, Lucy, she also is she's great. She is a child of her own. I don't want to say breed because that's weird, but she is just her own person.
Tap me up, cuz.
It's okay. That's what she does. She's so sweet and cute, and like, but she is like her own person. She is such a strong personality, and like, I am not about to like quench that. Like, if Lucy wants to wear something wild and crazy to church, I'm like, I'm always like, do you feel beautiful in that? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, Miss Confident. And I'm like, then you go for it, you know? And so little things like that, I'm trying to shift.
When I say overcompensate too, I want to be super careful in the way that I use that word. I'm not overcompensating in a bad way. Overcompensating in a way that it's like, I want to go
course correcting
above and beyond to make sure that my kids never feel the feelings that I felt.
Yes.
So they can have healthy relationships with other people, that they can have healthy relationships with other friends. That's what I mean by overcompensating.
Then I do overcompensate. Yes. Because I want that for them. Like, you want better for your kids. Like, I want it to shift. I don't want, and again, I have to remember, and this is something like, as I've gotten older, I've had to like remind myself, like, my parents did what they could with what they had back then, you know? And so I'm having to like jump over that hurdle and be like, okay, you know? But like with my children, I don't want them to feel the way that I felt. So I want to shift it. I want to change it. I want to tell them I love them. And my parents were very verbal with I love you and care and stuff like that. His side, not so much. And so like, we tell our children that we love them a lot. We tell our children that they're beautiful. We tell our children that they are strong and that they can do things even if they're hot, you know what I mean? So like, we want to shift it. We want to change it for our kids. I tell them all the time, I'm like, I don't want them to have to like go get fixed because of us, you know? I'm like, we have to be better. We can't talk to them like that. We can't do this and that, which is just, it's a struggle.
You said go get fixed. You mean go get counseling? Because
yeah. Go get counseling. I don't want them to have to like,
shout out to Grace Counseling.
Grace Counseling, do it. Go to counseling. Even if you are 100% okay, it is still okay to go to counseling.
Absolutely.
So even if they need to, it's fine, which I'm sure they would have to. Not perfect, but
there's a piece there where you're talking about your husband and this immense podcast, and
not anymore.
Yeah,
we have so many women that listen. We're like, this just makes sense.
Yes,
we're always trying to inspire men to be the best versions of themselves. We think the best way to do that is to follow Christ's example. He gave us a great book. It's how we go about living our lives.
Yeah,
and you said there how he's being a change agent. And the mere fact that you brought him up first and what he's doing to influence the family, guys, hear that. Don't let that pass by you. That is your role, is to lead by example. It's never to tell her what she needs to be doing. It's always to grab hold of the reins of leadership in the household. Yeah. And your wife will honor that, just like she just honored her husband by bringing up his change agency first. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate that big time. Music is starting to happen. You're 16. Now we're talking 17, 18. you're independently doing the music now. You're leading. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think, and one thing I left out, 15, I started leading. So childhood church, and then there was another church in town. There was some craziness going on at my childhood church. So we actually shifted over, went to a different church. And at 15, I was their worship leader. Like, I did all the music, all the things. Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility.
But back then, though, it wasn't what it is now. So it was a little bit more chill. So
okay.
There was no cameras. There was no light booms.
Oh my gosh, no. It was just, there was no lights, nothing. It was just a room, a sanctuary, keys. We did hymns at this church. There was another lady she was so great at piano. Her name was Becky. And she would play the piano.
Shout out to Becky.
Yeah, shout out to Becky if you're watching. Play the piano, do all the things. She was so great. And then we would have like the modern worship, which is what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, 15. I think I did that probably. I think we were there a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you still in relationship with this child's pastor's wife that kind of helped inspire you to grow, or did that when you left?
Yeah, well, because they left, and I can't remember how old I was when they left, but I feel like I was like 12 or 13. And
do you have contact with her still?
I do, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. 12 or 13.
What's her name?
Her name is Rhonda.
What's up, Miss Rhonda?
Rhonda McGinnis.
Shout out,
Yes.
Rhonda. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Good Lord, thank you so much
and
for
honestly, seriously,
pouring into this young lady.
Literally, because when I think about her and I think about that in general, I'm like, how important it is for us to be doing that.
Mentorship.
You just, yes, for sure. You just never know.
Please step into the void, Christian people.
Yeah.
Of the ones who need it. The ones who, if you see talent, don't wait for somebody else to identify the talent. Step in.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility.
Yep.
You're seeing it. There's a reason. Do it.
Yeah.
This is the outcome. We're going to put together some of her music stuff. You guys are going to see some of it. We'll link to it as well. She's phenomenal. You guys are going to be blown away.
She's the best. The best.
You guys are so nice.
So you're leading this thing 15, 16, 17. It sounds like 3 years. Do you stay at this one as you graduate high school? Are you still at this place?
I was still it was a Church of God. So we went from Assembly's of God to Church of God to both Pentecostal charismatic denominations. Yeah.
When did you meet the old JD? How old were you?
19-ish. Yeah. I think it was 19.
And you guys are on a mission trip. You want to talk to us about this mission trip?
Yeah. So
where was it? What was it? What was the purpose?
Yeah, for sure. We went to Miami. I'm trying to think of what it was called. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but we would go down, do like evangelism, all these things. It was a bunch of different churches that would get together and they would go down and do this.
Yeah. Where would they evangelize at? Under a bridge, in a
literally everywhere,
homeless shelter,
downtown Miami. Yeah, just they would send us to like
bullhorns on the corner.
Maybe that too, which I'm like, don't do that. There were different like stations that each you would be assigned to, kind of thing. But yes, the beach. One of our first pictures together was actually Miami Outreach. He just told me what it was called. It's called Miami Outreach. I think they still do it actually. One of our first pictures together was like us on the beach, just like standing side by side because you don't put them around each other.
In your Jinko jeans?
No.
Just kidding.
Some ugly yellow shirt that we had on.
Was JD part of the Church of God that you were now going to?
So, mind you, we went to home church, Church of God, then we went back to my home church. Okay. And my parents went back to that after. There was some shifting in like the leadership and stuff like that. And then we went back. So it was that church that I went with, like my childhood church. So, which some of the leadership was still there from when I was a child, but a lot of it had changed. So, but yeah.
So you go this mission trip, you guys are walking the beach. You see this dude from a distance, you go, boy, I gotta chat with this fella.
Yeah.
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 Kind of, I guess. I feel like to rewind.
Seemed to have led to more than that, as your bio would say.
Yes, it did. So I think really how it all started, he kind of like was coming to youth group and stuff like that. I would worship at youth group. He saw me like on MySpace. Do we remember MySpace?
MySpace,
sure do.
Okay.
Tom.
Saw me on
Shout out to Tom.
There we go.
Well done. I forgot about Tom.
Yeah, I know, right?
I had a friend.
Yeah, I had one.
Once. But
no, so he would like come to service, and I say that he basically stalked me, but he would say no, that wasn't true, but it was true actually. And so that's how our friendship kind of like evolved, and then we had like a group of friends that we would always hang out with. We would go like to Jacksonville, which is kind of close by, go to the beach and do all these things. We would go to the beach at night. We thought that we were very good kids. We thought that going to the beach at night when you weren't supposed to be on the beach was like
rebellious.
So bad. We thought it was. We would like the golf course in our town. We would go to it, and we would just in the nighttime, maybe like 10, 11 o'clock, and we would go hang out. We thought that was like so bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't even.
And like, mind you, like we weren't even like
what we did.
We didn't drink, we didn't smoke, there was none of that. We were just bad kids on the golf course.
Sufficiently to say we probably wouldn't have hung out much if we were
Probably not. Probably not.
I was in different places.
Doing different things. Okay. Our level of bad was a little different.
Significantly.
Because now when I think about it, I'm like, gosh, that was so lame.
By the way, it turned out horribly for us.
Please, we don't recommend you go the path that we went. We recommend your level of bad be being on a golf course at nighttime when you're not supposed to be.
Yep, that's the worst. It should get. That's what we pray for our children.
Yep.
So at some point in time, this friendship becomes romantic.
Yeah.
And a child is produced.
Child's produced, yeah. So we started dating in, I think it was September. And then found out in February of 2010. Yeah, 2010. It was...
back that up again. Yeah. You started dating when?
September.
Of 2009?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had known each other before that, but we didn't start like officially like dating until September. And then February... I only remember because it was Valentine's Day. We had like went out to Olive Garden. We were eating because we still love
baby.
Still love Olive Garden. It's still yummy.
Come on, breadsticks and salad at OG with a little. Oh.
And so went to Olive Garden. I felt sick and I felt real nauseous. Felt a little queasy, and I was like, I knew what we had been doing, so I was like, okay, let me check this out.
How old were you?
At that point, I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was 21 when I turned 21 and had Brooke, and so went to the Walmart, in the town. I think we were actually in DeLand, which is not far from here. Went there to the Walmart and took the pregnancy test in the bathroom. So classy. And it was positive. And I was like, what in the world?
How did he take it?
I don't remember. I think we were scared.
Sure.
Like, so scared. And
Does he have a position at the church at this time?
Yeah,
you do. You're worship leader.
Yes, and like involved in the youth. And he was he was also like in the youth group, would play drums and stuff like that. Was super involved, and even on like the big church team, he was also involved there. So we were both involved in church. Me more so because this was like my home church. We had a worship leader, but and he was our worship leader and youth pastor. But I would like help him do a lot of the things. So
it's a leadership role.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Who did you tell first?
Yeah, my sister.
Yeah. What'd she say?
She was also freaking out.
Is this the adopted sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Her name's Alicia. I love you.
Shout out Alicia.
Alicia, yeah. She will, she will listen to this, so she'll be happy about it. But anyways, so I told my sister first, and then I told one of my friends who was, at the time, she was like my childhood best friend. I told her about it. I honestly, that was so long ago. Like, I don't remember how she reacted. But yeah.
When you found out and you start telling people,
when do you tell mom and dad?
That would be after the other that we done. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So you got to find out you're pregnant. You got some decisions to make.
Yeah.
What kind of decisions could you have to make?
Well, do we keep this baby? Do we not keep this baby? And so
what adoptions come with what alternatives come with not keeping this baby? What are the thoughts there?
One, adoption. But then I was like, I don't want that. And then abortion. And so that is the route that we almost took. And so
how did you almost take that?
So freaking out, all the feelings.
How early is this? This is, you got the pregnancy test and within days?
And then literally probably, I feel like it was probably like within 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I had my friend, she like worked at the school at the church there, like at the church we were attending at the time. And she was my best friend since we were 6 years old. And I was like, hey, like can you help me? Like, this is what I'm doing. She did not support it in the least bit. It was like, please, like, you have to like help me. I thought,
what was her pushback like?
Well, because she knew that like abortion was not the way to go. Like, and even like we were still young, you know, and then her position like at the church too. She was in leadership working at the school there. So it was a very like.
Are you peers of age peers?
Me and her?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's just a year younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's pushing back on you saying this is the wrong path.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's a really good person.
Yeah.
Still is a really good person.
That's fantastic.
Did it move your heart?
I mean, I knew I shouldn't be. I
Right,
knew.
sure.
Yeah.
Everybody knows,
100%,
but
yeah.
did it was it a change agent for you?
Not her telling me that. I was selfish, and I was just like, no one can find out about this.
Yeah.
Like I was like, we need to do this like as quick as possible so that nobody finds out.
And as quiet as
that,
possible.
Yes, no one finds out that me, Ashley Wallace, that I did this. Like I'm like, that can't happen. There's no way. Like, you know, we can't have that. And so begged. She gave me the money, which thinking back, very expensive. She gave me the money, and we drove to Jacksonville. I looked online, found a place. It was like a women's clinic. So we drove to Jacksonville.
Who's we?
Him, JD. He
JD.
took me, yeah. So he took me there.
Is he struggling with this decision too?
Oh, yes, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Were either of you more in the direction of than the other?
Probably me, more in the direction of like, we have to do this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're driving to Jacksonville.
Yep. We go. And so we get there, go in. It's super quiet and just blah in there. And so it was like it was a women's center, but I think the main thing that they did was abortions, I'm pretty sure. So we go in, I pay the lady, we sit down. There's other people in the room. We're both already feeling like, hey, like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this isn't the right choice.
Are you talking this out?
Oh, yeah, we talked through it, yeah. But then
as you're sitting in the place, you've already paid, you've already signed all the paperwork.
Yes, yeah.
They're getting ready to bring you in.
Yeah. And so I go back, and I go like to the little area. They have to like take your blood, I think, and do all these things. So I had this nurse, this lady, and she is talking to me, and she's like asking all these questions, like, is this your first child? Is this and this? And I'm like, yeah, and whatever. He had to stay in the lobby. They didn't let him go back with me, so he stayed in the lobby. She's talking to me, and then I hear her like talking to her coworker about her child, and she's a single mom. And she's just talking about her. I think she had a little boy, but I think he was 3 or so at the time. She's like, yeah, it's hard and this and that. But she was talking, then she starts like talking to me about her son. And she's like, yeah, it's hard and this and that. She's like, but man, it's so worth it and this and this.
You think she was being intentional?
She might have been. I was like, well, it worked. So.
Or God was speaking.
Oh, 100%. And I literally, like, after, I'm like, she's like an angel. Like, this was definitely, like, this lady was meant to be
That has to be
day.
very abnormal for a place like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
For a woman
Oh, sorry, guys.
to be talking about that.
Yeah.
To then engage you in that conversation.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there's a lot of that at those facilities.
Yeah. And even the vibe around because it was open. So like the place that I went into, like the little cubicle was open to like the rest of the area. So I think other people that were farther along, that were like going in to abort their babies, they were like on these stretchers. I didn't have to go to that area, but they were, because I was so early, but like they were like on these stretchers, like just sitting there. And one of the ladies, I mean, she came in. It just looked like it was just like a routine thing for her, that was sad. But I like specifically remember her just nothing. Like it was just what she's doing. And I'm just like,
yeah, another 3 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm over here dying on the inside. But
when did it hit you that I can't do this and you leave?
I know it sounds like a movie, but it was so true. The guy came in, he did the ultrasound. The doctor, yes, sorry. The doctor came in, he did the ultrasound, and I remember, like, I didn't know a lot about all of that. And so you have, like, the gestational sac, I think, like you have the uterus, and then you have and so I was like, I thought like the sac that the baby was in, I was like, is that the baby? And he's like, no. He's like, that little tiny like spot. I mean, I was probably 8 weeks. They're not very big, you know.
No, size of a bean.
Yes, but I heard her heart, and I was like, what am I doing?
Yo.
I'm like, why am I here? And all along, I didn't know that he's in the lobby freaking out. And like, I don't remember if, I feel like he might have asked if he could come back and they said no. But he was like freaking out in the lobby, like, we can't do this. We can't do this kind of thing.
This is wrong.
Yes, yes. And so I remember he was like going to give me a pill. And so he went to go get the pill, and I got up and I walked out. And I walked to the front. I was like, hey, I'm not doing this. I was like, I need to go. And I got my money back. We got in the car. And when I came out, like, I remember him being so relieved. And then him telling me after the fact that he had like, was like praying, like, God, okay, like something needs to happen. Like, please, like,
intercede.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we got out. And then I called my sister and I told her everything about all of that. I don't really remember.
How was that drive home?
Oh my gosh, it's so long ago. I feel so bad. Like I don't really remember. I do remember like
it's a traumatic event that happened that day. So I'm sure there's a lot of it. You're just like, I just really would rather not think about this poor decision that I almost made, especially looking at your beautiful daughter today, like, and thinking like,
well, she could not have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which would be bad and sad because we love her. But I do remember like odd. Like I remember like where I was at when I called my sister.
Yeah.
We went to Olive Garden again. I guess we love Olive Garden.
Jeez. Shout out to Olive Garden.
I know, man. We went to Olive Garden afterwards.
Now to our sponsor.
Also back then though, like living in a small town, like that was like your excitement was literally going to the Orange Park Mall or going to go eat at a Chili's or an Olive Garden, you know? That's what you did for fun. But I do not remember all the details of on the way home.
So the woman that worked with you at the church who was already telling you, hey, this is a bad idea, how'd she respond?
No, she was happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was glad. In return, though, it was just a really bad situation all around.
Talk to us about that.
So you asked, like, when my parents found out. So when I was at the clinic, they gave me like not a prescription, but they gave me like a prescription, like the paper, and then they put like how many weeks I was, which was around 8 something. So they gave me my like due date and this and that. Yeah. And it said Women's Center on the top of it. And so I remember we went to church, and then we got out of church, and my parents, like, we shared a car. And so I would drive their car sometimes. And so for that, I had driven their car. And I left the paper in the side door. And I come out of church, and I go to the car or whatever, and my mom is like, she's like, what is this? Like, literally, like, in the parking lot of church.
Anger.
100%.
Yeah.
What is this? And I'm like, I think it might be Dad's. And I don't know why. I'm like, I don't even know why I said that. But I was like, I think that might be Dad's. And she was like, no, she's like, Ashley, this says Women's Center. She's like, it was like 8 week, 2 days, something or other. And I was like, and then I freaked out, and I was like, okay. And I like walked her down the sidewalk, and I was like, come over here. And I was like, I'm pregnant. And I don't remember all of the details. I know my parents were very angry. They were very mad. My dad was literally like, you should have kept your pants on, and then like yelling at JD, and like.
This is happening in the church parking lot.
Yes. In the church parking lot. I think Danielle, my friend, I think she was there with me. Our parents were also like best friends. And so my parents, her parents, a few of the other families, and then the pastor at the time too, they were all really close. He had been the youth pastor, and then he was the senior pastor. So they like, through all that time, they've known him for like years and stuff. And so there was that. I remember we left. We went to Sonny's to eat, and then I was like, we need to tell your mom. So we called his mom, and this is just how she is. They are also Christians. They go to church.
Are they local? Her
parents? So they live like an hour and a half away. They live in Interlaken. Okay. And so I remember, and this is so typical of his mom, she was so kind. She was so like, okay, we'll figure this out. Like, we're gonna get through this. Like, she was very positive. It was very different than my family. And she was just like, we're gonna figure this out, and like, we're gonna work through this, da 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 da. And I was just like, okay. And so I was like, okay. And so after that, our senior pastor found out. I think it was.
How did that come about?
Honestly, I think my parents made me tell him. I don't remember. I would honestly have to ask my parents.
Like another traumatic moment of your life.
And I honestly don't talk about, and this isn't a secret. I've talked about this before, but I don't go back to my mom and be like, hey, so that time I tried to have an abortion, like, you know, can you tell me about this, So
can we clarify some things on that, Ma?
Yeah. So I think she made me tell him, so he knew. And then there was a whole ordeal at church. During the service, he was preaching, and then afterwards, he I guess he thought that we were talking during service, me and JD and my friend, and he freaked out on us after service, which was just he's a very calm guy.
Is everybody in there when he's freaking out, or does he wait for everyone?
There was there were still people in the sanctuary when he threw his Bible down and yelled at us and all the things. I'm just oh, this is so great.
Holy
what was
smokes.
Remember what he was yelling at you about?
I guess he thought that we were being disrespectful in service. I think he was very upset that I had gotten pregnant.
Sure.
So do you believe his anger is more towards that than it was actually what was happening?
Yes, I think he was looking into every single little thing to be well, they're doing this and that or whatever. I think he was very upset because, mind you, I had known him, I don't know exactly how many years, but I've known him most of my life. Mm-hmm. I think they started at our church maybe when I was 10. And so I've known him, his family forever.
Grew up with him.
Right, exactly. And so it was kind of it was a heartbreak to him too, that
this young lady that I've poured energy into, that I believe is the future of this place, has made a disappointing judgment call here.
Yes, yeah.
And it's put me into position, what the heck am I going to do?
Yeah.
And he handled it poorly.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes. His wife, on the other hand, I remember, if you speed up through it, but towards the end of the pregnancy, she was very kind, supportive, and I do remember that. She gave me. I remember she gave me a card, and a gift that was basically we love you and we're here to support you. So it did eventually
come back around.
It did. Way later.
Mm-hmm. So they find out you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. They immediately take you and pull you out of the position that you're in, which I can see the understanding, the reason behind that. But how they handled it from there was the part that was very, very poor. It was just you're being removed and you're being put into the black hole of ministry. And sorry, there's no way out for you because you made this poor mistake in your life, and figure it out. Yeah. No counseling, no discipleship, no mentorship, no love, no, hey, we make bad choice and let's give you a game plan to set you back.
20.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. No, there was none of that, which I wish there would have been. But
did you guys reconcile? Have you reconciled with?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, he's I
bet he wishes he would have handled it differently.
I know. I mean, there's lots of things. He probably does regret it a little bit.
Sure.
But no, they're amazing people. They were pastors for years, and now they have a foster care ministry. They've adopted so many children. I think they have 5 biological of their own, and then I think they have 5 other children they've adopted.
Holy smokes!
But they're great people.
That's
awesome.
For sure.
Good. I'm glad that worked itself around to that.
So baby comes out.
Baby comes out.
Are you guys married at this time when the baby comes out?
Yeah, so we got married in April.
Shotgun marriage.
Yeah, it really was. Got married in April, and she came in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you have 3 other children.
I do. Yes.
So how do you get yourself back into worship ministry?
So when we got married, I feel we got married, and then we were kind of chill for that year and a half. And then even during that time too, we did one of my youth pastors at the time, he was the one that he stuck by us. He had some issues in his previous church and previous relationships and stuff. And so he's I know what this feels like, and I know, and so I remember him always being such a constant, and still we're still friends with him now. He has a church in Ocala. But always being super supportive of us, even when other people weren't, even when our family, more so mine, was not very supportive. And I think for my family too, it was they had to wrap their heads around it. And also no one would have ever thought, I was just a good kid. No one would have ever thought that I would go off and do that or whatever, not even just the abortion side of it, but even just the sex before marriage, what, Ashley, really? It just wasn't. So, but no, we're thankful that we had Randy, shout out to Randy, in our lives that was that little bit of support that we needed to kind of make it through. And so I think we had all that year or two, and then we, I would always go around and like help out other churches in different places and stuff if they needed it.
What do you mean by help out? Sing?
Yeah, lead worship for them. Yeah, so
Great.
we slowly got back into that. I'm trying to think like the timeline. I should have wrote the timeline out.
How
so I
was,
could remember.
just to bring us back to one part here. So mom and dad find out, you know, they're probably part of what they're feeling is how do we tell everybody in the community that our daughter did this,
Yeah,
and
for
you know,
sure.
it's just a black eye on the family now. How long did it take before that relationship was mended? And was it?
Yeah, no, I don't think it took long for my parents to come around because, like I said, like they really are good people.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're genuine. They like the grandkids. They love, and we would always joke. I'm like, yeah, you were so upset about this, but Brooklyn was like your favorite grandchild for
Right.
the longest time.
Yeah.
No, I remember.
Oh, that.
I remember
Great.
my dad being like, I remember being at the dinner table and our neighbor's daughter got pregnant around the same time I did, but she was married. And I remember that my dad was talking to our neighbor about it and whatever. And I've like healed from this, but I also, it's something that will like always stick with me. They were talking about it and I was like, well, did you tell them that you're going to be, like, well, he was already a papa, but like, you're going to have, you know, that I'm going to have a kid. And he's like, why would I tell anyone that? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so that's when like, I knew they were disappointed, but that was like, oh,
You're this
very,
level of...
very, very disappointed.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was definitely a tough one that I had to like wade through. But by the time Brooklyn was here, my parents, they were all in. Like
Once that baby's in the arms, everything goes away.
yes, seriously.
Reflecting on the kind of man I try to be and the man I would like perhaps to speak to me when going through something like that. It's obviously, it's not that his statement is just disappointing. There's pain there, and it's just crummy.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm sure, and I'm wondering rather, did he ever take an opportunity? Has he taken an opportunity since then? Like we're talking about earlier, how for people that have experienced, you've agreed with me on this, like through adoption or through a parent leaving, you need that extra level of intention directed towards you.
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure.
Has he taken the time? Did he take the time?
It's a great question.
If so, when did that happen, or what did that look like, or in his own way, or did he sit you down, look in the eye, and say, "What?" No, he's not that kind of guy. Okay,
No, and no, we've never really like. There's been my way of coping with things is joking and making it funny.
Sure.
Yeah, I know.
That's called a trauma response.
I know.
I know those roads real well.
Yes. So that's kind of like, I've made jokes about it before, but there has never been like a, hey, like, I'm really sorry that I said this. Maybe I shouldn't have said that kind of thing. But also, like,
the minute things start to get good, again,
you forget it.
You just embrace the good.
Yeah.
But again, I'm saying, as from a man's perspective, I think one thing my wife gives me credit on frequently is, and I think maybe my buddy will too here, if I'm wrong,
right,
and I'm wrong frequently, I really try to go back and take the extra time to say why I'm wrong. Yeah. And I do it individually. I've called Andy and shown up at his house and face-to-face talk.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, sometimes just my voice isn't enough. I need it to be seen that through the looking glass of my soul, I mean what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's so good.
And truly apologize and recognize where I fell short. And in that, I think that it's committing to take a different path in the future. Yeah. And these are wildly important components because, as you said it, I seen how painful it was.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like, in the moment when a father and a man should say, honey, I love you. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
As dad, I'm your protector first.
Yeah.
And we're going to get through this. And then instead, and I'm so familiar with choosing this other path, which is to selfishly look upon my situation and go, do you see how you're impeding on my happiness, goofball?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, not the time, Dad.
Yeah.
Not the time, Jonny.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to hear that, you know, he hasn't reached that place or didn't reach that place, or, you know, for the time that you had to kind of accept we're back on the right path anyways. Yeah. So let's just try to do better here, and I'll just be here and I'll let it go.
Yeah.
But it's like, you do need that sometimes.
Swept it under the rug.
100%.
You know, it's like,
our families are very good at that.
Yeah.
I think most people are better at it, because it's what makes, Jonny was just talking about that, because I think what makes friendship what it is that we don't sweep it under the rug, is that we address it when we address it when it happens.
As quick as when it happens. We don't let the
fester.
We don't let the sun go down in our anger.
Yeah.
You know, Bible says that, and Jesus says it as well, in the way of, don't even give your money to God. Don't go make a tithing to God until you've resolved this thing with your brother.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how essential it is that Christ had to make a point of it. So I'm encouraging our listeners, if you're wrong with somebody, make it right.
It's never
by
too late.
Taking ownership in wherever you've fallen short, not where they've fallen short. You don't have to incorporate that piece. It's really just assessing where you were wrong and then making that amends. And then it'll help you to set forth in your own path a way to be the better person that you want to be.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you see it there. And it's like, this is decades ago. And when you think about this memory, there's still pain.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. Dads, step up.
Yeah. Stepdads, step up.
All
too.
dads.
You know,
All of
dads. All dads. If we're making that decision to be dad, then we need to be dad.
Yeah.
And I can understand. I can empathize with your dad.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that situation. You
Yeah,
know,
your daughter
and
had.
Yep. And, you know, and so I can empathize with that. I remember the day that my daughter came into the house and said, Dad, I'm pregnant. And just those feelings of just like, just heartache, brokenness.
Yep.
As soon as that grandbaby's in my hands, I mean, it's just like you forget about everything.
For sure, yeah.
You know,
That's what happened.
You know, it is what happens. But you know, I can understand, not right or wrong, but I can understand that those feelings of like your child coming and being like, I'm having a kid out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And there is without a doubt, there's a pride part of that of like, man, how do I tell my friends this? How's this going to make me look?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
What am I going to be responsible for here?
You just said it a second ago. You're impeding on my thing now. You're impeding on my freedoms. And so now my freedoms are going to be limited because I've got to step in and, you know.
In my wisdom, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
And I already know how hard this is going to be for you because I raised you.
Yeah.
I can see. Listen, let me empathize.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very familiar with these thoughts.
Yeah.
I encourage you, gosh, if this ever should happen to you, take a beat. Take a minute. I need a minute. And then say, I love you. I need a minute. Try that. And then maybe you do walk away and you go to a little quiet place and you just say, God, give me the power for this. But I encourage you, gosh.
Yeah, because they don't unhear what you said.
Yeah, it sticks with
Words
you.
are so powerful.
Yeah.
Words are so powerful. So you
powerful,
are better
yeah.
off to be like, because the response is more normalized if I'm like, I love you, but I'm not going to respond yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I wish I was better at that. I wish I was better at that.
Back to the words are powerful. I just think that this is a great piece now for us to talk about worship,
Yeah.
which you just specialize at. You know, Andy said it earlier in a way. I look at the worship music as a full 50% of my time spent at the church with God's people. We talked about this prior to the cameras running, but when you read the Bible and you read about where God's at, what's happening around God right now, there's music.
Yeah.
They're worshiping him in song.
Yeah.
That's how important it is to God all the time that worship music is happening around him. What a powerful position for you to have. But B, it really, I think, speaks to this greater soul issue that we have, this filling in these components. So it's 50%, it's like the emotional side of me, that when I listen to worship music, it enriches this, it reminds me of how good God has been. And the words in it are really what are doing that. And it washes over me and it gives me memories of all these amazing things God's done. And in a different way than his word does. That actually works, and a good sermon works on the intellectual side of my brain, so that it allows me to tease out these concepts of the whys of the world. So there's almost reflection in music, and then there's looking forward with the word.
Yeah.
And the words used are so important. And you get to be the one, I'm assuming, you kind of sculpt the music around the message. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do.
So you talk to Pastor Mike, who we've had on here. You guys kind of align. There's a sermon that's going to happen. So then you're kind of aligning the music clearly with the sermon and the message there. What a special privilege. Do you want to talk to that a bit?
Yeah. So sometimes it's aligned with it, like on purpose. And then sometimes it is the Holy Spirit, which I love when that happens. But so our process, I'll talk a little bit about our process with that. We have like a teaching brief that we go by. And so me and then two other pastors at the church, we get together and we plan the songs like in a month or so in advance to the next month. And we use the teaching brief to kind of like go off of like what Pastor Mike might be preaching on.
Sure.
Sometimes it all aligns, sometimes it doesn't, which is okay. I love it when it doesn't, when we don't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we'll literally be in the middle of a set and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, first of all, this song is going so well with this. Like, this is literally going along with what Pastor Mike is preaching. And like, we didn't even do this on purpose this time. So I'm like, I love when that happens. So it's really beautiful.
I want to, before we do this, because I think this is super important just to who you are and the joy of who you are is before you came to Grace, the church you guys were at.
Yeah.
There's a shift that happened of how you guys were treated.
Yeah.
Versus what your experience has been at Grace. And I don't want to lose that part of it, because we could talk Grace all day.
I know.
Because it's a special spot.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about what happened to you guys towards the end of that. What was your mindset like? Relationally, how were you guys? Mental health wise? And then what broke that to be able to release you to be able to come to Grace?
So I think, try to be
you don't have to
particular with my words. No, yeah, you're good. We were at a church 9-ish years ago that was really, really harmful to us.
Can you give examples of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're good people. I think their leadership just really, it was bad. And we knew we deserved better, but we didn't really we were just like, no, I feel like JD and I all throughout our life, we knew ministry is what we were supposed to do. We knew that we were called to do this, but it wasn't until we got to Grace that we're like, oh, this is what we prayed for all of these 15 years that we've been together. This is what we've wanted. And so I feel like we took little stops along the way at places that, yes, God moved and God used us. And we made amazing friendships and experienced great things, but they weren't where we were supposed to be. And so it always felt kind of an awkward fit. The church that we were at 8-9 years ago, it was just toxic. It was just the way that they would speak to us, the control. There was just a lot of little things. And we were like, okay, this is what we've wanted. And it was a decent church. So okay, well, we're going to, and it was hard because it was the leadership, but the people were so great. And I was just the people of the church and the people that we got to serve with were so great. And so I feel that's what kept us there for so long, was that piece of it. So we were there I think we were there almost 2 years. And then I quit because I was like, I literally cannot do this anymore.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we're super clear on this. Like, I cannot emphasize it enough. I was a musician for a long time. We talk about that. It is a soul-driven calling.
Yeah.
And for you to take a step away from it, it's like saying, I'm going to stop breathing.
Yeah.
It is as serious as that kind of a commitment would be. It's I'm going to take this thing that it's so much different than I do a lot of different kinds of art, and I've done a lot of different kinds of art. And there's a reward to painting a good painting. There's a reward to writing good lyrics. There's something very special about standing in front of people and leading them in song that touches something very, very deep inside of you. Can you unpack it all? Like, what would lead you to? I mean, that again, this isn't I quit working for the Burger King because my manager said I was lazy.
Yeah.
This is I stopped being a worship leader at a church that, by all accounts, was something you've wanted to do. It's a culmination of years of hard work and discipline, and then you just go, this is too far and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That's tough. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think mentally I was not okay. I had 3 little kids. Zion was a baby. We had just had him. Great kids, but mom life. It was a lot. Also, this is going to sound silly, but we lived in an apartment that it was so dark and dreary. I was 100, and I feel like I didn't start to I say this. So growing up as a kid, if you prayed harder and if you just believed in Jesus more, your anxiety and depression, it would just go away. It's not true. It doesn't. That's not how it works, guys.
It's not reality.
It's not. But that's what I was told. And that's what I was taught, and that's how I was brought up. So being in touch with realizing, you know what, you were probably depressed. I didn't really realize that till probably 4 years ago. And so depression, anxiety, I would have the worst, I guess maybe it was performance anxiety there, but to make sure that what I was doing was good enough for the pastor to make sure, because he was his wife was just the kindest person, and then he was so just
Was that church around honor culture?
Yeah. I know a lot
and
of
for our listeners,
are.
I don't honor culture. Honor culture is when the pastor walks in the room, everybody stands up and pays reverence to that person as if they're
the leader.
Yeah.
Or the overlord.
I'm not
Yeah.
not a
Kind of
fan of honor culture.
It
I
gives
don't know
somebody
if it was extreme
unwarranted
like that. Yes. Yeah.
authority.
Yes. Yes. I don't think it was super extreme in that way. But he was the boss and you knew it, kind of thing.
Sure.
So I think all of that together with the fact that just the way that leadership was there, just the way that we were talked to, the things that had happened, I was just I can't do this anymore. And I remember being in a meeting with one of the pastors there, and I had talked to her about it. Our relationship at the time, I feel was struggling, because I remember telling her that, and her being yeah, you, and now I think back about it, I'm her being yeah, you need to this just needs to go ahead and just be it. You need to talk to him now, talking about the pastor. And honestly, I don't remember going to him and telling him. I know I did, but I don't remember all of the conversation. But yeah, so I think it was just overwhelmed and so much stuff going on. And it was hard. It was so hard to do because I loved the people. I love leading worship, obviously. I loved getting the opportunity to do that. And if you looked at it from the outside looking in, it was a great place. New building, new big staff, big church, big people. It was what we've always wanted, but it wasn't the right fit. It was not in the least bit. And so yeah, it was a struggle. So I quit, and then he worked there too. So
was there an event that was this is the straw that broke the camel's back? That's something that was done or said, or was it the culmination?
I think it was just a lot of things. There was one instance where I talked about bringing in a guitar player just little things like, it's just, I talked about bringing in a guitar player, and it was one of our friends, and he was like, he's like, no, absolutely not. You'll use this person. And it was someone who literally hated me. And I was just like, oh, just the control. It was a lot, and we didn't like it.
No creative freedom.
No, not at all. And not saying that, and like, even now, like, I have things like, nope, you can't, that's not going to be, which is fine, but it's just so different. It's not like, you don't do this and you can't no.
Well, here's why.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, thank you. Like, it's healthy.
Yes, that's a great clarifier. It's like when you're a kid and you go, why shouldn't I do this thing? Because I said so.
Yeah, but why? And then they're the why. Yeah.
I'm a curious kid.
Yeah.
I want I have questions. Give me even decent answers and I will let something go. But if you just tell me no, I'm probably going to do that thing.
Yeah. And back then for me, I was I cowered down and I just did whatever was told. Now, I feel like I'm still that way a little bit, but I think I have a little bit more of like better head on my shoulders.
I want to ask a question, but I want to kind of make sure I'm clear on what you've said here. So, from what I do know about you, you're a very dedicated individual. I'm assuming that as you build towards whatever, if it's Sunday that you're performing, there's effort that goes in advance to that. You're getting together once or twice a week in advance and putting together just inside to practice, but then outside of it, you're also putting together what's the formula here that's going to work for the time frame that we have and what's going to affect the overall worship service for all the people that are going to experience it. So you're dedicating all this time and effort, and now and then at the end, the outcome is your talent is then on display. And then you do this and you perform, and then are you getting like just kind of crummy responses from this guy? Is he not breathing life into you as you're doing it? Is there any of that? No. Yeah. But it says you try to take any ownership over this.
Yes. It was always his way or no way.
Or no way. Okay.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, how was that for you? Just
totally bad. Like it was just bad all the way around. And I also like talking back like to the apartment we lived in, I feel like that like amped it on because it was so dark in our apartment, and so I was always just like.
Is it Orlando? Did you live in Orlando?
No, we lived in Tampa. So if I was in our apartment, which I was a lot, because I didn't go to the church very often, like during the week, except for like rehearsals and stuff like that, or meetings or whatever. But that definitely contributed to like the depression and like the anxiety and just all the things that we're going through.
Just performance and anxiety. You're feeling that the night before, it's hard to sleep, or during the day of a performance?
Usually it was like day of. But, and like, mind you, I've dealt with some of that even like recently here. Sure. So I'm like trying to like wade through like, what exactly is it? Like someone said, is it performance anxiety? Is it this? But I'm like, I don't know, because I know that like, I'm confident in what I'm doing, and but
as
also
you should be.
Yeah, but every single time though, and even back then, like I always like knew that it was the Holy Spirit that kept me, the Holy Spirit that led me in those moments, because it's like I would be so afraid, and then once we would get started and like we would start leading and stuff would just flow, I was like, okay, like I'm good, and I knew that it was God that was like, okay, like here you go. And even now when that happened, like literally like 2 weeks ago, I had that happen to me, and I have no reason to have that.
We know a thing or two about anxiety and panic attacks.
Well, that's kind of why I'm drilling down on this.
Yeah.
For some reason, as Andy and I both hit 40, anxiety attacks started happening.
Yeah.
Praise God, I haven't had one in a while, but I'm very familiar with them. And by a while, I mean 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
That's good, though. Yeah.
And they are shocking when they happen. The lack of control.
Yeah.
All-consuming.
How consumptive they are.
Yeah.
How the logical side of your brain can be arguing all this factual stuff, but you're in free fall. And there doesn't seem to be a parachute. We believe, we've spoken about this here on this podcast, like in the book of Ephesians, it talks about we are fighting against principalities. we believe there's a spiritual battle happening. And it's been important for me to remember that that's the case, that the closer I get to God, the more of a threat I become to the opposition.
So true, yeah.
And I feel like this happens consistently in my life as things are getting better and as I'm trying to learn more about God and as I'm trying to worship God and thank God for all that he's done for me, boy, I'm quick to be attacked with something.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And now I can also react to the attack. So I can allow the attack to steal from me as much as the opposition would like to steal. That's not to say, and it's not to belittle what a panic attack is. There are medicines to take.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But we've also thought that it's very important to armor up.
Yeah.
And you do that through the Word of God. And that's how you can remind yourself that there are these principalities. And that, again, we spoke about it before, but I'm going to keep banging away at this. Words have power. So it's very important for you to understand the Word of God so that when those things happen, will it be the have all, end all, solve all? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it will.
Yeah.
But it might not be. You know, the last time I had one, I spoke about this recently, but I called Andy. And on the phone, he said, I'm praying for you right now. And he just instantly went into prayer mode, started praying for me, and I didn't feel any better. Honestly.
It didn't. My prayer didn't work, so I kept praying.
But he came to the place I was in. Meaning, in his mind, he didn't question why it was happening. He didn't need the answers why. He didn't need to tell me all the things that are okay and they're gonna be okay. In prayer, he immediately validated the crisis and then looked towards solution.
Yeah.
And in that, he was like, you should go to the hospital and you should go to the ER and you should just check in with them. I know right now you're saying it feels stupid to do that, but go do it anyways. Because have you ever done that before? No, you haven't. Go do it.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to help you there in ways that I can't right now. And we're going to pray the whole ride in. I'm going to talk to you until you get there, and like,
What a good friend.
it's a great friend.
It's brotherhood,
Yeah.
right?
Steel sharpens steel. I think he knows that if the script was flipped, he could expect the same
First
thing
one
from me. So I want to validate this thing, but I also want to put like a point on it. Like, we watch you every single week perform.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as someone who's gone to Grace for, 10 years now. And this isn't to disparage anyone else who's ever performed there or been on stage there.
Yeah.
It is for sure not that. But it is to say that since you've arrived at Grace, we have seen a transformation in the overall culture of worship at Grace. Yeah. There are hands in the air. I didn't think, rather, by nature that I was as charismatic as I am. It's really only been, now I full shout out to Tristan.
We love Tristan.
The best. He inspired me. I seen him worshiping and I just watched him, and Tristan is like this tall,
6'7",
very handsome, charismatic guy, and he's got his arms up in the air. So he's 18 feet above everybody else with his hands in the air and just getting down, and I see him and he's singing the words. And I was like, and I always wanted to do that in my music career, I was charismatic in my way, in secular way.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever realized that could happen here. Because it hadn't, it was one step, two step, one step, two step. In all churches I'd ever been into or seen or witnessed in any way. And it was when you came in there and watching you. And this is the piece that I think sets you apart, is your comfort when you sing allows you to not always need to sing every single word. It's to allow your people accompanying you vocally to fill in some of those, and then you to highlight pieces.
Yeah.
And I think it's in that highlighting that it's like, that's that overwhelming thing that really just touches my soul and like will make my eyes sweat.
Yeah.
Sweat.
It's
Because it like reaches that place that we're talking about here, which is that thing that I'd imagine when you're before at the throne of God, at the feet of Jesus, and you hear all this, it's going to be that. It's going to be that thing where it's such a confident worship in the creator of the universe that says like, this is for you. I submit this thing that you've given me back to you and reflected of you. And it comes across and it's like compelling then. So I'm like sucked into putting my hands up. I can't help it.
Right. Yeah.
Because like if I was to hold myself still, I'd be fighting against this torrent of like energy that has to come out. And it has to come out through like arms in the air,
Whistles.
singing out and loud.
I was just thinking through that actually. I pray to God when we're in heaven and we're worshiping Jesus that Jonny can still whistle, man. It's like, yeah, that was a good song. Jonny, you're right. You should totally whistle to that one, bro. I wish
He
I could
always
whistle like
tells
that.
us in the green room, he's always like, did you hear that whistle? That means it was good. This was good worship.
If you hear the whistle, you guys, you killed it.
Sometimes we can't hear it because of our in-ears, but sometimes we do hear it.
Now, you guys showed up to Grace COVID. So I remember first time seeing you singing was when we were not meeting in person.
YouTube videos.
Yeah, YouTube videos. And I remember hearing you sing, and we talked shortly after that. We're like, who is that?
Well,
it's me.
It was so different than what we had ever seen or heard or experienced. Not to put shade on anybody else that was there, but just anybody that's there will also say that you're a next level singer. You have a different gift set. And so it was just like, wow, that's very, very different. Just the way that, because I think the part that Jonny hit on is the gift that you have there. It's not just like the strength of your voice, but it's just your ability to lead others, and you make everybody else on your team go from here to here, because you don't always
raise the glass ceiling.
You don't always have to be the person on the stage singing every single song, and I know you'd rather not.
Yeah.
It's you coming in and out, and like he said, highlighting everybody. That's what makes a leader, like a real worship leader. It's not just look at me and my abilities that I can sing every song. It's like, no, you want to elevate everybody else around you, and that's one of the gifts that you really, really have.
Well, and it's interesting because you could, with your talent and your background, you could totally domineer the whole thing if you were inclined towards that. But also one of your gifts is humbly stepping back and raising up this next generation of people and encouraging them and leading them to become better at their thing. You know, that's not common.
Yeah.
Is the thing is you could have an opportunity here just to be a superstar and stand up front and go, I'm the star here, get out of my way.
Yeah.
But I can't emphasize it enough that you constantly will be bringing up these other artists and putting them before you and then playing second fiddle to them in a way that emphasizes their good qualities. And it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful reflection of humility.
Yeah. Because we've got some killers that can sing. I mean, Felix's wife, Taylor, can get up there and just kill it.
Absolutely.
Dom gets up there and kills it. Eric gets up there and kills it. I mean, we just have some powerful people that have really stepped up.
Yeah.
I wonder this. How much of your leadership style comes from the poor level of leadership that you saw? Because it's like, we've talked about this on here with leadership. You have two options. It's like you can rule with an iron fist.
Yeah.
And you'll get people to move for a little while.
Yeah.
Or you can be the servant leader and you get people to follow you forever. And so how much of your experience of seeing poor leadership coming to grace and seeing examples of good leadership plays into that, who you are today?
I think both of us have tried to take all the bad things that we have experienced and even like how like you change it with your children, you're trying to
Absolutely.
change. I feel like that's the same way that I try to like look at leadership and like,
what would I want somebody to say to me? What would I want someone to do to me?
100%.
What would have enriched or fulfilled me?
Yeah, and don't treat people like crap. And like they're just
How
there.
hard is that? Right? Just don't.
Like they're just there to just do something for you, and then when they're done with that little job, that's so common in church too.
Gosh, I bet.
Yeah.
Like, we have friends that like have recently even told us, like, in their situations in different churches and stuff, like, you don't serve anymore, so you're really not important. And that baffles me because I'm just like, I can't do that. I won't do that. And I don't realize how people think that that's okay. And that's just like, but it's very, very common, unfortunately.
When you guys came to Grace, how quickly was there a shift in your mental, physical, all the relational health? How long did that take before you guys were like, this is what we've been looking for?
So right when we started, I started Easter 2021. I went to Mexico in May and got gastric sleeve surgery. So I got a surgery. Gastric sleeve is basically, they take 80% of your stomach and they say goodbye. They leave you with 20% and then you lose weight. I struggled with my weight my whole life. Like, probably 10 and up, I was always overweight, always struggled. It's always been a thing. And so I went and I did that. I got surgery. Our life, just in general, I had to change things, the way that I ate, the way that I did things, everything changed. And so for both of us, that changed at that point. It was just, I don't know. And then one of our staff leaders, one of the staff members that works with us, he had told me, and I didn't really realize it until he said it to me, like he pointed it out. But it was kind of like after the time, I don't know, I probably had lost maybe like 50, 60 pounds, but you could see like a difference. You could tell a difference.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the way
unbelievable.
that I know, even in the way that like I acted,
Yes.
all the things.
That's more what I'm
was
talking
different.
about, by the way.
A level of confidence.
Yes. And see, mind you, I was always confident. Even as a big girl, I'm like, well, I know I'm not ugly and I'm just really fat. So I was like, I was always confident in myself. But
Love that.
I think being at Grace has helped a lot with the confidence in all areas, not just that. And losing the weight obviously helped that, but also losing the weight doesn't solve it all.
No.
It's a very big mental thing.
Great point.
Like, people would say before my surgery, oh, it's mental. Like, you're going to mentally struggle with this.
If I could just lose this weight, then I'll be happy.
I'll be enough.
Then I'll be enough.
True.
Right.
Not true. I'm way smaller than I was, and I still struggle. I'm a confident person, but I still struggle every single day with the way that I look and the way that I want to do. I want more. I need to lose more weight, and I need to do this and that. But now I've lost my train of thought. Where was I at?
Talking about the mental struggle.
Yes, and so the staff member told us both. He was like, do you see the difference in you guys? And I feel like for us, we kind of felt it a little bit, but it wasn't really like when it's you're like, you don't notice it as much. You 100%. Can see it in other people.
Yes.
And he was like, being in a healthy environment has like shifted you guys so much. Mm-hmm. Like, you're in an environment where like you can like fail and not worry that like you're going to get fired or that you can have struggles and you can like actually talk to your leaders about those and not worry that you're being judged and like talked about or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's all the thing. Like,
because church culture is,
yes,
I cannot let anybody know my weaknesses, because
especially as a leader.
Yes, because it's my job's at stake.
Yes.
So I'm going to hide everything, and then I'm going to hide everything until I blow my whole life up. And so
that's what's happening.
Grace culture is, hey, if you got something going on in your life, let's talk about it.
Yes,
let's
they tell us that all the time.
Let's get you on the right path again, so you can continue to be the best version of yourself. Yeah. We don't want you to blow up your life.
Yep.
That'd be the worst thing that happens. But we see that in culture all the time.
Yeah.
Church culture.
Yeah, for sure. When people like talk to me about Grace or ask me, I always emphasize that, because like Pastor Rick and Pastor Mike both have like, they've like reiterated it to the staff. Like, if you are struggling or if something is going on, like, we love you, we care for you, like, we want to genuinely be there for you.
Yep.
And I think it took me, because of the situation that we were in previously, churches and the way that church is and was, like, it took me a long time to really believe that.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
I've been treated like crap by 100 girlfriends.
Yeah.
So when I finally met my wife, I was wildly suspicious and untrustworthy.
For sure, yeah.
Unfortunately. But as she continued to show up for me and show me what love is, I was able to be more intimate with her, with the inner working of myself, meaning of intimate, and like share with her. And then the vulnerability was able to be achieved. And now we're, fully available to people.
Yeah.
So if you've been hurt, it's probably going to take you a little while to reconcile the pain of the past with the past and be able to walk forward in the future in this new space where the potential of being accepted is there.
Yeah.
I love, shout out to Grace, big time.
Seriously.
Because that is how I've always felt there too. I really feel like, Mike and Rick, that is just such a massive component. And Kelly,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
This is such a massive component of what they set up there. And, shout out to the elders there too, who have always kind of kept on track and been honest and open as well. Andy happens to be one of those. Shout out to Dave Fox though too.
Yes.
Who's one of those guys that'll tell it like it is all the time.
Yeah.
But he's got just a great heart for Jesus.
Yeah.
And he's always just pouring into everyone and letting them know, that it's, he's just a great mentor friend of mine, so I'd like to give him an extra shout out. But he always just is relatable, man.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just a human first.
Kathy's great too.
Kathy's awesome too.
Gangster.
So we just have this
a
great group of people there that really allow you to. They make it clear that you're a human. Mistakes are going to happen. Yeah. Let's work through it. Let's work together, and let's.
Yeah.
It's a welcoming place of love, and it's awesome. So I'm glad for you to make that point. We feel that way.
Yeah, even growing up in my my home and stuff, perfection was it. That was it had to be, everything had to be perfect. And no fault to my mother. She's a very everybody would always joke with my mom because she was a very type A, everything in order. The house is always clean, even now, always clean. People would joke with her that her perfume is bleach because that's all she uses to clean. And
sure.
so growing up, perfection, 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 perfection. And that's not me. I don't have the same type A personality as my mom. But it was always you need to be like this. You need to want to clean everything, and you need to want to this, and this. I'm just yeah, that's not me. And so.
How interesting then that your journey took you to multiple churches where that was kind of also the prerequisite
for sure.
fall in line.
Yes. Or God's mad at you, or this is going to, one thing my mom used to say to me, and this will stick with me forever. She used to tell me, because she always said that I had an attitude, which I do. I may not see it all the time, but I get a little feisty. So she would always be God's not going to use you with your attitude like that. And I would always be, and that would always stick with me and I would always be a little scared on the inside because I'm okay, so I have to be perfect and I have to make sure that I do all the right things, because if I don't, God's not going to use me.
Well, that's the problem with creating legalisms in our lives.
Yeah.
It's just that right there.
Yeah.
It's just I'm always worried that I'm going to be mad at God's going to be mad at me.
I'm going to fail, or I'm going to slip up, or this is going to happen. And that's just not how it works. And that's just not truth. And so I have to beat that out of my head.
Accept grace in your
life.
life.
I think it's just another component of the trauma of being a child and having the circumstances that you were born into.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very obvious that these things become, these battles that we're going to fight for our life.
It's also the trauma of Christianity being religion and not the relational aspect of what really Jesus was setting upon, because it's very easy for people to use religion as a weapon.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can manipulate you and get you to act and think the way I want you to think based off of these rules. And then on the backside of it, the problem is that when they get out of that home or they get out of that lifestyle, and they don't want anything to do with Christ at all.
Right.
And it's we have
sister.
this.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. So we have these options of what I love what you and JD are doing now is you're teaching your kids who Jesus really is, and giving them the freedoms to embrace that and be creative and be joyful and be kids.
Yes.
Right? When you're at the church, it's not, don't touch this, don't sit there, don't say that. Listen, you have to have structure. But what I love, back in the green room, on Sunday mornings, your kids are running around. A lot of the people's kids are running around back there and having a good time, and we're
it's a family.
joking and having fun. And it's not
important that your kids see you enjoying the Lord.
Oh, amen, man.
So much so. Yes.
He's the God of joy. He's the God of good. He's the God of happy.
Yeah.
He's all the positive things.
Yeah.
We don't reflect enough on that.
Yeah.
Again, back to worship music. I mean, that's what you're doing in your message. That is the full compilation of all music directed towards God, is how good you are to us.
Yeah. And how can I not worship him and sing to him and want to give that praise back to him? Yeah.
What's the future of worship look like for Ashley? What are some of your goals for worship? Like, what are some of the things out there that you could accomplish in worship, what does that look like for you?
I don't know. I feel like I'm super simple. I don't know. We'll be writing songs soon, which is exciting.
You'll be writing your own songs.
Songs that come out of grace.
Fantastic.
So I'll be helping, exciting. But I'm not leading it because I know my wheelhouse. It is not.
Stay in your lane.
Words. Exactly. That's okay. And I'm totally fine with that. It is not words at all. For some people it is, which is great.
Yeah.
So that, and just continuing to try and like, I feel like sometimes I'm like I just try to fix everything and I can't be that way, but I am like, I try to fix stuff. So also still trying to like grow that like community and culture in our team of like genuine community, like our house rules, genuine family, like really still growing that. Because I think when you have that behind the scenes and when you have like that connection with the people behind the scenes, what overflows as we lead worship together is just something that's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. So just trying to continue to grow those things, which is hard, but I love it and I enjoy it. And I always say, I'm like, yes, grace is my job, but like, I always feel weird saying it's my job. Like, yes, they pay my bills, but like, I enjoy this and like I'm passionate about it. So
that's
it's
okay.
So it's like this
feels like it shouldn't be okay.
Right.
For some reason.
I know.
Because it's a job. I'm supposed to hate it or something.
Yes.
I don't think it has to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way at all, which is great because I'm like, oh, I enjoy being here. And even like circling back to like all the anxiety stuff.
But
like,
keep paying.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. But even like circling back to all like the anxiety stuff, sometimes I feel bad and like I've even like told my leaders this. I'm like, I'm not like, I don't dread coming here. I'm not upset about being here. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. But even like what you said, like we fight things that we don't see. Like I know that it is that what we do, like as worship leaders and as we lead our church and our congregation, is
fundamentally changing hundreds and thousands of people's lives and inspiring them throughout the week when they're not around. Because some people don't go home and listen to worship music. Right. Some people don't go home and read their Bible, unfortunately. Right. You should. Please do. Yes. Mm-hmm. You might be that one moment this week that they receive God. Yeah. Boy, that sounds like a threat to the opposition. Yeah. So when you are under attack, yes, I cannot encourage this enough, especially to you, but to anyone hearing this. It's like, consider that possibility too. I think it's real. Mm-hmm. I think that as you get closer to God and as you become a force for good and for his plan, you're a threat and there will be attacks. Yeah. And you have to fight back. And you have to fight back. Good. And I do. And like, so one of the things, it's funny, we were talking about Sound Mind earlier, but that's literally like one of my songs that like I go to if I'm ever, like if there's a weekend where I'm literally like, and it's so funny, like I even think about it now, like I can like feel the feeling and I'm like, but then in my mind, I'm like, why am I feeling like this? Like I enjoy this. And then like I said, once I get there, the Lord takes over and everything is awesome. Sound Mind is a song by a band called Worship Culture. Mercy Culture. Well, Mercy Culture. Well, so there's that one. I think there might be different versions of it too. I think it's the Hesslers they did, but the one we do at Grace is Gateway Worship, and that's the version we went off of. But I will play that song, and just like reading the Word and having that in your heart is important. I feel like even just those songs being sung out over you, I have to remind myself of those things. I'm so glad you bring that piece up. Yeah. It's when there's a melody, it's easier to memorize. Yeah. It can be hard to memorize scripture. Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. The only time I've ever memorized scripture is me taking a piece of paper and handwriting it dozens of times. Yeah. All the scriptures I have memorized, I've intentionally went about writing and rewriting and rewriting. Mm-hmm. And even then it's like not much. My brain is not good at it. But I've always been good at memorizing lyrics. Yeah. And some of the song lyrics literally are scripture. So it works out.
A lot of them are
exactly right.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
But no matter what, they are directed towards God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's all about your intention. Mm-hmm. So you're allowing, maybe you don't have that verse memorized. And this is the important piece to hear, everybody, is, maybe you can't attach that moment to Psalms 91 or whatever. Right. Instead, it's like, that song, Sound Mind, can come in and those lyrics can wash over you and you can remember them. And I'm telling you, there's power in singing them out by yourself. You're wherever you are and you're sad and your heart and it's hard. And Brandon Lake's got a song, Hard Fought Hallelujah. It's a great song. But in one of the lyrics, he says, sometimes it's hard for my hands to get up, but I lift them just a little higher. And it's like that intention that you take to say, God, I'm not going to let this take me down. I'm not going to let it hold me down is huge and can carry you out of that.
For sure.
I'm so glad that you brought that piece up because really that is such an important component of why worship is so important is that in those moments when, you know, life can be dark and hard is to like resonate with those things. And sometimes just that melody can lead to some lyrics. And if those lyrics, if you're enriching yourself with the word of God through music, boy, that can be the one thing that you can reach for in that moment of panic and fear. Yeah,
absolutely. Which it is. Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that's listening right now that's like, I have a heart for worship, I just don't know what to do next?
Meaning, do they want to do worship? Is that the question?
You know, I would love to be part of my worship team. I would love, I think like God's called me to that. How would you tell them to foster that?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, if you have a home church, get involved in your church. Try and get involved with the team.
Take lessons.
Yes, that too. And also, yes.
Don't be afraid of that.
Right. And be
open. I took many years of lessons.
Good.
You did too. Yeah. You're naturally talented. I wasn't.
That's okay.
But you still said you took lessons. That's very important. That can be just a step in the right direction, by the way. Even if you don't have the courage yet to go talk to your church.
Right.
Like, look up some places where you can take vocal lessons. Generally, it's going to be you in the room with somebody else, or you in the room with somebody else and maybe a couple other people taking lessons. Yeah. I did a ton of that.
Yeah, no, it's good. It helps for sure. Being intentional with that and also being okay, like, and being sure that, like, it is what God has called you to.
Oh, great point. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Growing up,
your mom should not be the final say on whether or not you're a good singer.
Right. And, like, moms and dads, be honest with your children. Yeah. I'm very honest with my kids. Like my oldest.
Especially with singing.
Yeah, especially with singing because it's what I do. But like my oldest, she has a great voice, beautiful voice. I don't just say that because she's my kid. Yeah. She thinks I just say it because she's my kid. My third child, you know, he's very passionate about worship. Not the best voice yet. Sorry, buddy. He won't hear this.
Maybe Dad will teach him the drums.
But I have actually told him, I'm like, hey, like there's stuff. You got to work on some things. But I feel like he's like, and it's so funny too, because he's 8. Like, it's that time for him. And I'm like, it was the same for me. And so I'm like, I think it's cool. And I do think worship will be in his future. But be open to the fact that maybe worship is not your thing. But I think also, like, finding, like, if you get involved in your worship ministry, finding, like, that leader or that person who's going to tell you the truth, who's going to pour into you, being open to that.
Mentorship.
And yes, there you go. Being open to that and being, I don't know what the word would be. I guess open to the critique and open to the, hey, you know what? This may not be your ministry. Yeah. Maybe you need to.
If you're around the right people, they'll minister you.
Yes.
The right way.
Yes. And then leaders, be honest with your people, please.
That's awesome.
And be kind.
It's hard.
And be kind when you're honest.
For sure. Don't just be like, wow, you suck so bad. Like, you know, like, let's say it a little bit differently, which is also hard too, because, you know, I've had to do that many times.
I've said this before. The job that I would hate the most as a worship leader is those people that come to you and like, hey, I'd really like to be on the worship team. And then they have to come up and sing and they have to perform for you guys. And then you have to literally be like, you ain't it.
Maybe not.
Yeah, this is probably not your calling. I think that would be the hardest conversation.
And like, I don't have to decline them in person, but I do have to decline them in email. And it's me. And so
part of being the leader.
Some of the people, they still like me, so it's fine. You know, I still talk to my church. So it's not awkward. It's good. So
Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time today, coming in and talking to us, you know, sharing some of these difficult moments of your life, some of these hard decisions you guys had to make. It's so exciting, again, some of these takeaway points to hear about how you guys are being change agents for your family and really stepping up into this role that God has for you. We love listening to you play. We love listening to you sing. We're honored to have you here and spend the time with us. And everybody, Ashley Weaver, Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are Untrained Philosophical Discussionists, Jonny Hanson, Andy Lamb, and that was Ashley Weaver. We thank you so much. And we just want to pray that you have a deep and a fulfilling relationship with Jesus, and that he blesses you all the days of your life.
And all God's people said.
They said amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Ash.